Okay, we're right at noon, and I'm going to begin the meeting and try to keep an eye on the waiting room and pause at 12:03 to admit anyone else coming into the meeting and then lock us down for the duration. So first of all, welcome to everyone, and thank you very much for showing up early. So logistically, we would get everybody in the same Zoom meeting at the same time. I'm Jim Sullivan, the president of the Saugatuck Douglas Rotary Club, and we welcome everyone to now something completely different, at least for us. We are pleased to be able to host this gathering of the candidates for City Council, something that Rotary hasn't done in the past, but this year with the virus affecting traditional organizations like the League of Women Voters and preventing them from doing in-person meetings, we decided to work offline with them and step into the breach. They've given us some guidance on how to do this. We probably won't do it exactly the way they would, but we're going to allow the candidates to lay out their qualifications, the purpose for running, what their key priorities are for action against what they consider to be the key issues facing the city. And we have also compiled the over 90 questions we received from this crew of registrants into 6 or 7 thematic, broader questions dealing with the issues raised, so that we could allow each candidate a minute to respond to those questions. I know that seems like a completely unfair amount of time to allow anyone to answer substantively these issues, but there were so many questions across a fairly broad group of themes that this is the way we're going to do it. So welcome everyone. And I'm going to review the agenda quickly with you. We're going to do a little bit of Rotary business just to set the stage. It will have double meaning for both the forum and our normal operations. That'll take about 5 minutes. We're going to jump right into each of the candidates introducing themselves and taking 5 minutes each to review their purpose in running, their qualifications for running, their take on the critical issues facing the city and what they would do about them. That'll take us to about, I would guess 12:35, 12:40, something along in there. And then we're going to start the Q&A period. Our club's great assistant to me today is our Sergeant at Arms, Bob Godfrey. He is going to be asking the questions that we compiled and rolled up from everybody. And hopefully, I know this, either the questions will run out or the time will, and whichever occurs earliest will cause the end of the meeting. One way or the other, we will close at 11:30. And once again, on behalf of the board of directors and the members of the Rotary Club, thank you all for coming. So the two bits of Rotary business that I would like to start the meeting off with today are these. First of all, Rotary is an international organization of which we're a local instance, and we are all guided across the world, 32,000 Rotary clubs and over 2 million members, by something called the four-way test. You may be familiar with this, but we usually begin our meetings reciting the four-way test together. Don't worry, I won't ask the 56 people on the call today to do that. I'm just going to lay out what the four-way test is and how I hope that will guide all of us, not only today in this meeting, but as we run up to the election here locally and generally. We happen to feel like if everyone would agree to live by the four-way test, this would be a much happier planet. So the four-way test is an ethical guide that we pledge, and it goes like this. Of the things we think, do, and say, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? So our pledge goes around truthfulness, equity, benefit, and friendship. Not bad, huh? Okay, thank you for letting me lay that out. Those will be the operating guidelines for today's meeting. And then the other bit of business that I want to accomplish is that some of you may not be familiar with how Rotary actually operates here in town. We, of course, right now are a group of about 45 people. That's up from 31 in just a year. 45 people have come together to basically unite and take action to create positive, lasting change in our towns, in our world, and in ourselves. That's our mission. And so we are committed to that. And we get assistance from Rotary International, one of the world's largest non-governmental institutions, and Rotary Foundation, which is one of the largest foundations supporting positive, lasting change in the world. One of the things we've been able to do is apply for a grant this year to help us offset COVID-related hunger in the local area. And we received a $2,000 matching grant from Rotary International early this year, actually in July. And we went about raising another $2,000 to match this grant in a year when fundraising is not at all easy for us. But we succeeded in doing that. And today I just wanted to quickly recognize our own George Stoughton, who is the lead of the Children's First Lakeshore effort to alleviate child hunger here in the area. And George, I'm going to show, if everybody can see me, hi, go to speaker view because you're going to want to see what I just do here. George, can you see this check for $4,000 from the Rotary Club? You will have to rely on my promise because you are out of town, but the check is in the mail.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay, well, thank you so much. On behalf of the board, we couldn't be more grateful and want to thank everyone in the club for your help. Just a quick note there, during the pandemic, we've served thousands of students throughout this last several months. We were feeding almost 900 children on a weekly basis. We're now rolling into the new school year, which is filled with questions how this will go forward. It's clearly a priority, but they're faced with so many priorities. We're in the process of ramping up right now. This week specifically, we've had about 225 students and believe that those numbers will continue to increase. So the money from Rotary is going to be amazingly helpful in accomplishing our mission. So thank you very much.
Thank you, George. We know it's just a drop in the bucket, but at least it's a drop.
We're very grateful.
Thank you for everything you do. And thanks to the club members who went out and raised the money with their friends and family and those who gave directly. Many of you on the call I recognize as having also contributed, so thank you all very much. I'd like to now roll into the main attraction, which is the candidates forum for voters. And I want to start by quickly introducing our candidates, and then I'm going to hand it over to them in reverse alphabetical order so that they can tell you a little bit about why they're running in 5-minute overviews. During the meeting itself, I will be timer, and so I will call at 15 seconds before you need to close. 15 seconds, and then I will call time as you close. This will be both for the overviews and for the Q&A period that Bob will manage. Okay, so we welcome Mark Becken, Angela Carrion, Scott Dean, Todd Hoskins, Barry Johnson, Lauren Stanton, Ken Trester, and Jane Verplank. What a blessing of riches we have that 8 qualified and caring people have decided to run for city council. So, Jane, I know you're not used to this, being a kid at the end of the line like me, but would you please start us off? And you have 5 minutes to say hello.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you, Rotary, and good afternoon. My name is Jane Verplank. I have lived in Saugatuck 41 years, almost as long as Mark Becken, but not quite. I graduated from Western Michigan University in the School of Social Work, and I worked in the mental health system for years. I'm a trained listener and an interpreter of human behavior. I have 2 very successful children who attended Saugatuck schools K through 12. And my first accomplishment in Saugatuck was I was a founding member of the PTO, which is still in existence today and still helps our school system greatly. While I've lived in Saugatuck all these years, I have created 3 very successful businesses in the area. My husband and I ran the High Banks Wildlife Art Gallery for years. Then we created the Four Seasons Inn. And then when my children went to college, I turned their home into the Inn of Saugatuck to encourage them to leave home and never come back. Not that they're not welcome, but they have to pay for their room now. My qualifications in city government start with, I was on the Planning Commission for 3 years. I have served on the City Council for 14 years. I was the first woman ever to serve on the Fire Board. I have been its chair for all 7 years that I've been on the board. I also serve on the 911 board, and along with Tony Vittori, established Tree City USA, which was about 13 years ago, and I have been the chair of that board for 13 years. The biggest issue facing Saugatuck at this moment is replacing the city manager. It takes a great deal of institutional knowledge to select and then mentor someone in the ways of Saugatuck. I have 14 years of that institutional knowledge to help select the proper candidate to fill that very, very large leadership role. Council will need to know the answers to his or her questions about infrastructure, how the network of departments operate in conjunction with each other. This is a very complicated town. The second is to preserve the character of the community while rebuilding our infrastructure and returning from the throes of flooding and pandemic, and now a loss of leadership. While we welcome new blood on council, this is the time for knowledge and experience. We need leadership that listens to all the people, not just the squeakiest wheels, not the ones that agree with you. The loudest voices don't always represent the sentiment of the community. Learning how to listen to the silent majority is an art form. Dedication of time is essential. I spend probably 40 to 50 hours a month attending meetings, participating in other boards, studying packets, developing budgets and capital improvement plans. I do this on 3 separate boards, and researching issues, to name just a few. Everything in government moves slowly, but it doesn't work at all without hard work and follow through. I have a track record for delivering tangible results. This city will never have the resources to do everything everyone wants. That's what makes the balancing act hard. But we have always done the best we can with the limited resources we do have to accomplish the greatest possible good for our citizens. Experience and competence matter now more than ever. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Ken, you're next.
Thanks, Jim. And my thanks to the Rotary Club for organizing this forum and providing an opportunity for the candidates to present their credentials and platforms. Let me start with a bit of my background. After graduating from the University of Wisconsin, I worked as a wire service reporter before I launched a career as one of the first in the country to develop marketing programs in the hospital industry. I went on to become a senior executive of several major Michigan hospitals, most notably the University of Michigan Medical Center. I'm currently a principal partner in a nationwide consulting firm specializing in strategic planning and marketing for healthcare organizations. As my professional life was spent guiding the growth and development of major medical organizations, I learned that successfully working in such complex environments requires excellent consensus building and communication skills, as well as bringing strategic thinking to bear on problem solving. They're all critical requisites for public office. I became a full-time resident of Saugatuck 12 years ago after many years of visiting as a vacationer. I soon became active in local charitable work, becoming a board member and Commodore of the Cow Hill Yacht Club for many years. In that capacity, I led the team that managed the Venetian Festival, the premier summer event that brings thousands to our town and raises tens of thousands of dollars to help needy folks in the area. I became involved in civic affairs long before I ran for council. I've served on the Historic District Commission, the Planning Commission, and as chairman and still member of the Cal Lake Harbor Authority. I was elected to the City Council 6 years ago and am currently completing my 3rd term as mayor. As a council member and mayor, let me talk about my priorities. Number one, I know from experience that branding is fundamental to marketing. So my first priority has been maintaining and enhancing Saugatuck's brand, its ambiance and allure as a resort and shopping destination. Number two is maintaining Lake Kalamazoo as an attractive and navigable harbor. While rising water levels granted us a temporary reprieve from the unwanted islands in the lake, those islands have now been replaced by unsightly patches of weeds. We're working now to find a solution for the next season that will keep our lake clean and looking good. Priority number three is supporting our business community by doing everything possible to make business owners successful. Our recent fast action to allow businesses to move into outdoor public space was a major factor in keeping them afloat during the pandemic crisis. It's a perfect example of thinking outside the box to find a solution in time for the tourist season. As an aside, our policies and our business owners' attention to safety have resulted in a very low COVID-19 infection rate in Saugatuck. Priority number four is improving public services and maintaining a safe environment. For example, the partnership I helped create with the Allegan County Sheriff's Office to provide policing in Saugatuck has been a home run according to residents and business owners. Our deputies practice community policing where they meet and greet business owners and residents, spend time in schools, and build friendly relationships. And by the way, we're saving hundreds of thousands of dollars in staffing costs. Priority number five is strategic planning ahead to maintain good roadways, infrastructure, and public spaces. One of our major short-term objectives is to fix Park Street. The north section will be repaved in spring, and we're currently doing an engineering study to determine the best way to improve pedestrian and bike transportation on the south end of Park Street. All these accomplishments and many more came about directly as a result of good people on the council working together collaboratively in an environment of cooperation and civility. That, along with the excellent staff we were fortunate to have working for the city. They've always been noted for their professionalism and incredible work ethic. However, as you know, our outstanding city manager, Kirk Harrier, has resigned. He will be hard to replace, but recruiting an outstanding candidate will be my #1 priority if reelected. We can do that because I and my colleagues understand the city's strengths and weaknesses, and we know from experience what's needed in a city manager. That's what makes this one of the most important elections in years. We simply cannot afford to have an inexperienced city council and
15 seconds, Ken.
And a new city manager. Lost time, the time lost and opportunities lost would be staggering for Saugatuck. That's how important your vote is this year. Thank you.
Time. Thank you very much, Ken. Lauren, you're next.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Lauren Stanton. I just want to thank the Rotary for holding this forum today and for everyone here who really felt compelled to be on this call today, who submitted questions and just care enough about our community to participate today. A little bit about me. I've lived in the Saugatuck Douglas area for 14 years. Before that, I had a boat at Tower Marine since I was in my 20s. This is my home, and I care deeply about its success as a thriving tourist town with a deep and unique history and an eclectic and one-of-a-kind character. That's why I serve on the Strategic Planning Committee for the Saugatuck Douglas Convention and Visitors Bureau, and I've also just joined the Marketing Committee for the CVB as well. I have other board experience. Currently, I am on the board of directors for Head Start for Kent County because I care deeply about early childhood education and kids who are most vulnerable. I also served for more than a decade on an alumni board for Central Michigan University. I was a journalist for over 20 years, reporting and anchoring in both the Lansing and Grand Rapids markets. And as many of you know, along with my husband, we own Retro Boat Rentals in Saugatuck. It's an idea we came up with because we wanted to do something with that amazing piece of property, that waterfront property at the end of Water Street. And what we've done, I think, speaks for itself, but to be brief, we now have one of the most unique tourist attractions in the state, bringing thousands of people to Saugatuck every year. And we need people on Saugatuck City Council with innovative ideas, energy, and passion, and a progressive look at how our city is changing and how to adapt to the needs of the future. That's why one of my biggest goals is to update the critical infrastructure in the city so everyone has reliable, high-speed internet and cell service. As many of you have experienced, internet speeds slow to an absolute crawl during the peak tourism season. And as a business owner, we can't run credit cards or look up our booking system. And cell service has the same issues, which is not only frustrating for all of us, but for our guests in our community as well. And it's also just not safe to not have cell service and internet service in our area. As more people are working from home here and telecommuting, kids at home doing online learning, we have to update our infrastructure. I would suggest forming a technology committee, meeting with the main service providers in our area, and finding the best solution. Let's get this done before the start of our next summer tourism season. This just cannot wait. Which leads me to my second point. Our city council needs to be more efficient and effective. We don't want to waste people's time. We should stop passing things off to consultants that we pay thousands of dollars for their reports to oftentimes just sit there without any decisions being made. In my opinion, it's been easy for the city council to just say no. For example, one that had a long-lasting and detrimental effect on our business community was saying no to establishing a downtown development authority or principal shopping district, losing out on potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants, and keeping our local property tax dollars here that could have moved our city forward. What's sad is several business owners in town worked tirelessly on trying to make this happen, only for their hard work and dedication to be ignored and stopped by our city council. Which leads me to my final point, and that's collaboration and participation. We have some of the most dynamic, smart, and innovative people who choose the Saugatuck area as their home. We need to tap into and listen to those who are experts in their field, and by having more people involved with decision making, it leads to transparency. We want to create an environment at City Council that is welcoming to ideas and out-of-the-box thinking. And we want a council that trusts the business community. They really were the true leaders during the onset of the COVID shutdown. We want a council that makes decisions that help our business community grow and not hinder their development. In closing, I believe our residents and business owners are looking for positive change on City Council. We want a City Council that demonstrates true leadership and not just wanting control. We need a new, fresh perspective. Let's be innovative. Let's be smart. Let's stop being No Town Saugatuck and say yes to economic prosperity. We need leadership with passion, energy, and creativity, active council members who walk and bike our community so they have a better understanding of our needs for sidewalks, trails, and bike paths so everyone can safely enjoy our most precious natural resources in our unique downtown businesses. As a parent with 2 kids in the school district, a business owner, and a voter in the area, I would bring more perspective to the City Council because council should be representative of the people who live here. I believe politics should get back to
15
compromise.
seconds, Lauren.
Let's get some solutions passed. Maybe not everyone will be happy with the decisions we make, but we need to come to decisions more efficiently and get people involved in City Council. Thank you for your support.
Brought it right in on the wire. Barry Johnson, we're over to you now.
Thank you. I'm Barry Johnson. Lived here for 40 years, raised our family here, 2 children, graduated from Saugatuck High School. Been a part of the community for a long time, been coming here for probably 50 years, but here for 40. I was born in Detroit, Michigan, interestingly 2 blocks from Tiger Stadium. I grew up in Ypsilanti and attended a high school that was 40% Black and 10% other minorities. I graduated from Central Michigan University, fire up chips, Lauren. And we live in an old house, which by the way was built in 1840 and was the original Frontier Trading Post. I've served on the Community Recreation Board in the 1980s, the Planning Commission, was the first president of the Saugatuck Douglas Community Foundation. Thank you, Peg Sanford. In 1988, I volunteered to be the committee chairman and then charter organization representative for the First Congregational Church, Boy Scout Troop 29, and Cub Scout Pack 3028. And I continue to serve in that capacity 32 years later. In 2000, there was a vacancy on the city council. I ran and was elected and have been on council ever since. In 2004, my wife and I founded Saugatuck Brewing Company and built it into one of the community's largest employers with product distribution in 19 states, 10 foreign countries. We retired in 2011 and now devote all our time to serving the community and managing a rental property that we have in town. So 40 years in Saugatuck has given me a wealth of civic experience, which I am blessed to share with you. 4 years on the Planning Commission, during which we prevailed in keeping McDonald's from putting a drive-through restaurant at the corner of Hoffman and Water Street. Over 10 years on the Kalamazoo Lake Sewer and Water Authority, which is a very complex utility that ensures you get safe, clean water when you turn on your tap. 10 years as Saugatuck representative on the Douglas Police Committee, chair of the Saugatuck Ad Hoc Police Committee that recommended what has turned out to be a very successful relationship with the Allegan County Sheriff's Department. I was Mayor Pro Tem, and I was also the Mayor of Saugatuck. My experience has taught me that successful government is based on relationships. Locally, in Saugatuck, Douglas, and Saugatuck Township. In the county, I'm on a first name basis with our County Commissioner, Dean Kappinga, and Jim Story, County Clerk Bob Janetsky, and Sheriff Frank Baker. In the state, I know Representative Mary Whiteford and Senator Eric Nesbitt. And nationally, I've known Fred Upton since Patty Burkholz introduced me to him in 1986. Connections over the last 40 years helped me get things done for Saugatuck. My council experience has kept me engaged with all issues over the last 20 years. To name a few, I have advocated for a safe bike trail since it was first introduced. Have I liked the many plans submitted? No. Why? Because I have not seen a plan that facilitates safe passage for a 9.5-foot wide fire truck during a packed summer holiday and when all the traffic from 196 is diverted to Blue Star Highway because of an accident, or as we're going to see next summer, one of the exits being closed down. We got to get a 9.5-foot fire truck down over the bridge who's going 45 miles an hour. I have not seen that plan yet. Our cemetery agreement with the township expired when they were struggling during a recall election. And we did not follow through on that, but since then I championed getting an agreement in place so that we are now paying in-district prices for the lots at the cemetery. And that was something that was suggested to us by one of our citizens. Flood mitigation, when property owners are facing historic floods, things just can't happen fast enough. But when you follow the timeline of engaging the Corps of Engineers, the state of Michigan, Allegan County, and our city engineers, giving us a plan and a budget, getting 3 bids for the job, hiring the construction company, and completing the work, it actually moved at a relatively fast pace for city government. Park Street, the city has maintained North Park Street for 100 years. When it came time to fix it, it was a mess of property lines and rights of way. It took years to sort out where the street was and get property owners to sign on. Now it has deteriorated barely better than the gravel road. The work is budgeted.
15 seconds.
And new ideas, single track color, consolidated police service, community recycling.
Thank you, Barry. Now, Todd.
Good afternoon. My name is Todd Hoskins. I first visited Saugatuck in 1991 on the baseball field and the gym of Saugatuck High School playing against Saugatuck. I believe that was Mark Beckon's 5th term in city council. I'm the father of a Saugatuck High School student, an entrepreneur, a husband, a lover of the outdoors, and a proud citizen of our city for the last 4 years. I could tell you that I'm running for the city council because I love Saugatuck and I'm committed to protecting the beauty and uniqueness of this place, and that would be true. But I want to share a different side of that same story. I'm also running for city council because I have been frustrated and often angry. Not necessarily at our city and not usually at our city council, but at the state of the world and how we are caring for the planet and each other. So I've been facing this choice. Do I either sit on the couch and complain, hold resentments, and feel powerless to change the system? Or am I going to get up and do something? And I have made the choice to transform that frustration and anger into passion, believing we can all make a difference, that our actions in the world can make the world a better place. I believe that the skills and the years of experience I've had in the corporate world, the startup world, and as an entrepreneur would be valuable to the citizens and businesses of Saugatuck. I've been fortunate enough to work with many levels of government, including federal and state agencies and cities. I believe right now we need the right experience for this time, not just years of experience, especially if that experience has been more talk than action. Some of the values that I carry into this candidacy are community, participation, transparency, and stewardship. Community for me means we have each other's back. The community ethic is strong here in Saugatuck, and I would love to see more people involved and more voices heard in the decisions that we have to make regarding our future. In my business consulting, I have seen what transparency does to trust, sometimes positively or negatively. And we've had issues with transparency with our city council, from what gets prioritized, what gets put on the agenda, to silently supporting the defeat of a school bond vote last year. We need the public's trust, and transparency is necessary. For me, stewardship means taking care of what we've been given. Saugatuck is a beautiful place, and we need to focus that care on the keepers of this beauty: waters, parks, trails, budgets, and employees, to name a few. How are we going to adjust to all these changes that are happening? We have more rental properties, new people moving here, businesses concerned about consistency and viability, and a large development planned across the river in Douglas. Well, I've been helping companies and organizations create new ways of organizing and working together for over a decade. I serve on the board of directors for 2 nonprofits. I've helped launch 14 companies in the last 16 years. I feel this experience, knowing how to listen, collaborate, make decisions quickly, and adapt, is valuable right now as we look ahead at an uncertain future with many new challenges and possible directions. We need people with fresh ideas who can work with the community to adapt. It was just yesterday that a local business owner told me, "I'm not sure if we're going to make it until the spring." This is what we need to respond to, and should have been out ahead of. Respond to what's needed now, not just change for change's sake. And we need better communication with our citizens. I commit to focusing on public-private partnerships, including finishing the Blue Star Trail, working with the MEDC, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, and looking into internet options to improve the quality and accessibility of our internet service. Finally, I want Saugatuck government to become known as easy to work with. This means being collaborative with our own citizens and bordering municipalities to get things done. All the things that need to get done in Saugatuck are collaborative issues, including the milfoil on the lake. Collaboration is key to our future success. Getting more voices heard, more ways to participate, more ways to stay informed. I'm asking that you consider to vote for me up until November 3rd for City Council.
Thank you, Todd. Scott Dean.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the Rotary for this opportunity. I know it took a lot of persuasion to get everyone to participate. The fact that 3 of the incumbents didn't want to do this is amazing to me, but I'm glad they had a change of heart and decided to do this. I was born and raised here in Michigan, and my earliest memories are of West Michigan's beaches. After graduating from the University of Michigan, I spent the next 30 years as a journalist and an executive in the energy industry. During this time, I had the privilege to travel the globe, and I saw firsthand the growing threat of climate change and the vulnerability of our planet's resources. We may not be on the West Coast, we may not be on the Gulf Coast, but Oval Beach and Kalamazoo Lake are the drivers of our economy and vulnerable in this rapidly changing world. I spent my career leading emergency response teams dispatched to Alaskan pipeline leaks, Gulf of Mexico hurricanes, even the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. I know what it takes to repair habitat. I know what it takes to rebuild communities. And I know, very importantly, what it takes to restore the public's trust. It takes discipline, teamwork, and endurance. These are skills I learned in the Army National Guard. Now, I retired from the energy industry in 2017 and put down roots here in Saugatuck with my wife and 2 school-aged children. And I was lucky enough to find a way to serve my community with the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy. At Eagle, I'm part of the team that's responsible for making sure Michiganders have access to clean drinking water and are protected from contaminants like lead and PFAS. My mission at Eagle is rooted in 4 key principles, and they're very similar to the Rotary's 4 principles. You have to gather facts and data. You have to make timely decisions based on that data. You need to keep the public informed, and you need to constantly seek the public's feedback. As your next city council member, I intend to apply that same data-driven approach and discipline to city government. I also plan to make responsible stewardship, collaboration, and transparency and accountability core values of the city council. And now I'd like to speak a little bit about the things that I think are priorities for Saugatuck. You know, we choose this community because it's a safe and welcoming one. This year, rising water quality issues, shoreline erosion, and increased traffic, and a public health crisis represent not only a threat to the people in this town, but to our bottom line. So as city council member, I would make the following top priorities. I will work with the Friends of the Blue Star Trail to complete the bike path in Saugatuck and make Saugatuck more bike friendly. I will collaborate with Douglas on a no wake designation for Lake Kalamazoo in 2021. I will work to improve safety and create more space between motorized and non-motorized traffic on Park Street. I want to partner with other communities and organizations and advocate for initiatives that improve the Kalamazoo River water quality upstream of Saugatuck. I want to conduct a review of the flood mitigations along Water Street and formalize short, medium, and long-term plans to protect homes and businesses from rising water. We need to review the city and the business community's response to COVID-19 and make sure that we enhance those protocols to keep people safe in the coming year. I would also like to increase collaboration and support for the Saugatuck Douglas Area Business Association and the schools. We need to work with the schools. That's why I came here. I came here for the schools. And we also need to work on Saugatuck 5.0. The Rotary should be commended for their work to take us to the next level with Saugatuck 5.0. And a DDA, we need a DDA. We also need to leverage technology and increase transparency to improve our government's ability to communicate with the residents here. That includes higher speed internet. We also need to actively promote and build on Saugatuck's position as a leader in environmental stewardship, arts and cultures, and diversity. So in closing, I'd like to leave you with a few thoughts. The candidates are going to talk a lot about experience during this campaign, the incumbents that is. And one experience as an incumbent leads to tunnel vision and thinking that you alone have the answers, when it leads to a stubborn nostalgia for the past in a world that's rapidly changing. That's not going to help the residents of Saugatuck. You need new experience. You need people with experience in entrepreneurship, people with experience in facilitating dialogue and cooperation with other communities. You need people that can lead in a crisis, not dither, not wait for it to go away. Hope is not a strategy. So in closing, I'm proud to be part of the team that's protecting our Great Lakes and our Michigan's drinking water.
15 seconds.
Thank you. And I'm proud to be here with my family. With roots here in Saugatuck and children in the Saugatuck schools, I'm really excited to serve as a responsible steward for this community's long-standing values, treasuring nature,
Thank you.
and respecting all people. Thank you.
I feel at this point I'd like to mention that in the spirit of truth, fairness, friendship, and benefit, that once this meeting was fully explained to all the candidates, they agreed to jump on board with, I thought, a fair degree of enthusiasm. So number one, that. And number two, I just want to clarify that the Saugatuck 5.0 initiative is not a Rotary initiative. Some of us are involved, but not it's not officially a Rotary initiative. So we're to Angela Carrion, and Angela, it's your turn, and take her away.
Thank you very much, Jim. Thank you, Rotary, and thank you, Saugatuck. This is a thrilling opportunity to be able to address you, the voters, directly. So let me tell you a little bit about myself, for those of you who don't know me. I moved here with my 3 children as a widow almost 12 years ago from Orlando, Florida. But I am from the area. I am Michigan, homegrown, born and bred. I'm a farm girl. My great-grandfather was the first organic sunflower in Michigan. So to say that I care and love this state, I care about this town, is been something that is ingrained in me from day one. I grew up with auto workers and caregivers and nurses and police and military people in my family. I was raised in a spirit of service. When I moved here for one reason, and that was the fantastic public school system. I have two sons who have graduated Saugatuck High School. I have a daughter who's a junior, and I couldn't be prouder of my involvement over the years with Saugatuck Public Schools. Starting almost immediately with my involvement in the PTO. I served as vice president for 2 years and president for 2 years, during which time we grew our budget from a mere $6,000 to over $20,000 in that short time. We grew our membership from 12 or 16 people, I think, to 40, upwards of 50 people by the time I left. And I know that the PTO is in great hands and has forwarded some of the great initiatives that we started during my time there. We started a wonderful Eloquence Day project, which taught kids manners, how to order in restaurants, how to present themselves in public situations, how to step out of the box and try new things. We created grants for teachers, which was completely non-existent at the time. We started a garden in an unused courtyard. We worked very closely with teachers, students, parents, and administrators. I fought hard on the 4-for-4 committee to pass a school bond several years ago. And as city council a member, I would never, ever, ever dream of going around a back door to find a way to thwart a school bond. Never going to happen as long as I am involved in this wonderful town. The experience I bring from the hospitality industry is major. I spent over 30 years in hospitality. I've worked at the Grand Traverse Resort in Traverse City. I worked at the 1913 room at the Amway Grand Plaza Hotel. And I spent 14 years in a large market, Orlando, Florida. I know tourism. I've had 100 employees under me from all over the world. I know how to listen. I've had diversity training. I've had bias training. And I have sat in meetings with people from all over the world who came together to accomplish common goals. Saugatuck is a very special place. What Saugatuck means to me is art, nature, and inclusivity. And as a city council member, I would be more than willing to constantly engage more people in this fantastic town to help us face the issues that are currently in our midst. Everything from how we support both businesses in a post-COVID world to working with the city of Douglas to eradicate the milfoil, which is ruining people's boats and been a terrible, terrible problem that could have been addressed actually prior to this season. The city of Douglas has approached us. We need to work with them. We need to finish this doggone bike trail. We have to do that, and we can do that. We need to get the stakeholders back to the table, and we need to hammer something out because we need a safe bike trail. Rentals are all around me on Butler Streets, and they're all bringing bikes. These are serious recreation enthusiasts who spend lots of money. So please help me achieve my Saugatuck dream. I want to mirror and just repeat everything Lauren and Scott and Todd said.
Thank you, Angela. Time.
Contagious.
We're all done. Thank you very much. And now, last but not least, Mark Beckham. Take us to the closing of the opening remarks.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks to the Rotary Club for sponsoring this candidate forum. for all the citizens that showed up and took time out of their busy day to listen to us. I'm Mark Becken. I'm a candidate for re-election to the Saugatuck City Council. I'm a lifelong resident of Saugatuck, a proud Indian graduate from Saugatuck High School, and a graduate of Western Michigan University. My wife Patty Sue and myself live on Campbell Road, where we raised 2 sons and a daughter, all graduates of Saugatuck High School. I have 2 grandchildren currently enrolled in, one in high school and one in middle school. Coached high school football at SHS for 20 years, most likely in 1991 when Todd visited our school. I own a local business, Saugatuck Harbor Insurance Agency. I'm about as local as you can get. I am honored to have served on the city council since 1982. However, we all agree that Saugatuck is a special place, great world-class tourist destination, a wonderful place to live and raise your family. Well, folks, it didn't happen by accident. It happened by hard work, dedication, and a commitment from a lot of people, and I hope I contributed accordingly. My service has included, was a member of the City Charter Commission, City Mayor, member of the Planning Commission, original member of the Kalamazoo Lake Harbor Authority. I'm currently the chairman of the Kalamazoo Lake Sewer and Water Authority. Represented the cities of Allegan County during the development of the 9/11 Central Dispatch Authority service, culminated in my appointment as chairman of the board of Allegan Central Dispatch Authority for 2 years. I was appointed by my fellow council members to represent the city on private groups that led to the acquisitions of the Old Harbor Natural Area, Coughlin Park, Culver Street parking lot. And those endeavors led to the purchase and the creation of the Saugatuck Center for the Arts facility. I also was a council liaison with the Jones family for the development of Jones Park. Respectfully, my experience sets me apart, especially from the new candidates who have little, if any, board or commission experience serving the city. It is understandable to ask me, haven't you served long enough on the city council, Mark? Fair enough. It's always good to hear new ideas and different viewpoints, and I believe council has always solicited and listened to other people's opinions. However, is it not more important to ask, if you lose years and years of experience, what are you replacing it with? In this year's election, I think that answer is obvious. My primary issues for the city in the next year is one, hiring the new city manager. I have participated in hiring the 4 prior city managers. I think I have a unique perspective in what qualification, skills, and intangible attributes are needed in the new city manager to make his tenure successful for themselves and for the city. I have the knowledge and history of prior city decisions in all areas of city operations to share with the new city manager, which will make for an easier and more efficient operational transition for city staff, city residents, business owners, and visitors. I find it interesting that not one of the other candidates has mentioned city finances. As a council person, I take no duty more serious than safeguarding and managing city funds. I consider myself fiscally conservative when assisting in the development and approving city budgets, and to prove it and prudently approve expenditures that city taxpayers have entrusted the council with. I understand how city finances work, how public projects are financed. I have been deeply involved in the planning, development, and implementation, both on the scope of the projects, the financing of these projects that have cost from tens of thousands to several millions of dollars in our community. City projects. Council has to understand that there are always more worthwhile projects than there are available funds to complete them. City staff and council has developed a well thought out capital improvement plan for city infrastructure and parks. This plan is updated and periodically reviewed and revised. This plan is the roadmap to be followed in the prioritization and financing of projects selected to be undertaken by council. Yet the city also needs to be flexible when unforeseen catastrophes arise, such as flooded, COVID-19,
15 seconds.
staff vacancies. Pardon?
15 seconds.
Okay. We have projects and plenty of plans to be done. We follow our capital improvement plan, and we need to continue to work with the community regarding our COVID-19 successes from 2020.
Thank
I'd like
you,
to
Mark.
close out by thanking you for sponsoring this forum. And for those voters who are tuning in, I ask for your vote in the re-election bid. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Thank you, everyone. I'm about to hand the meeting over to Bob Godfrey. Bob, would you unmute? Before I do that, I want to lay out just what we did in order to manage the Q&A period. Thank you, everyone. Last night, my wife and I used the game called Rummy Cub, and we picked the red letters or numbers between 1 and 8, put them in a cup, shook them up, and decided we'd use that as a random number generator for who goes first in our Q&A. And so Bob has all of those secret codes and keys, and he's going to kick us off now into the Q&A period. Thank you all, and I'm going to mute. Bob, take her away.
All right, Jim, thanks. And welcome, everybody. Very glad to see you here. This has been a very educational and interesting session so far. And now we go to questions that have been submitted in advance. And we're going to go in the order that Jim indicated. We begin with Angela. You drew the first straw there. And we'll go then to Ken, Jane, Barry, Scott, Todd, Lauren, and Mark. And then we'll reverse that order for the second question, and so on. So let me pose the first question to you. And Angela, this is for you. Thinking ahead 5 years now to 2025, please describe your vision for what Saugatuck has become or is becoming by then. What kind of town do you see then? And you have now 1 minute.
Thank you. Wonderful question. That's so exciting. I see a town with a lot more bike trails and walking trails, a more pedestrian-friendly town. I see a town whose schools are bursting full with new kids and families that have moved here. I see better infrastructure in terms of internet and cell service, because so many of us are still working from home and kids even learning from home. 5 years from now, I hope we're all back in school, but we don't know. We just don't know. I would love to see a brand, Saugatuck, a little bit more established as a brand. I hope we have some grants or some money. Help us get some beautiful billboards out there on 196 like South Haven has. I want to be a leader in tourism and not a follower, and I want to see us taking really good care of our natural resources for real.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Angela. Let's see, Ken, you're up next. Ken Trustmaker.
Unmute.
You need to unmute. Ken.
I should know this. So we do council meetings on this.
Ken, I want you to know I have not started the time yet. Go.
Thank you. I concur with Angela that certainly I'd love to see Saugatuck's brand enhanced and spread far and wide and make us much more well-known, number one. And number two, I'd like to see the town be more vibrant year-round. I know the weather plays a big role in people using our facilities and coming our attractions, but I think there are things to do that could make us more of a destination in fall, winter, and spring. Third, I'd want to see our town where we're not so challenged by the natural environment around us. I think the lake, the situation in the lake is critical. We go from islands in the lake to weeds in the lake, and I think that management would
15 seconds.
Thank you. I think that more management of the lake resource would help us immensely. I'll stop there.
Thank you,
Thank you, Ken. All right, Jane Verplank, you're next.
Okay, well, in 5 years, I hope our leadership is straightened around and we have a good leader. That's probably the most important part of the city. I hope our harbor is cleaned up by then and that it's no longer being fertilized by the farms upstream from us. That's the problem with the milfoil right now. there's a real problem in Saugatuck with the workforce. I would hope that we would do something about getting a workforce here. We all struggle with our businesses because nobody wants to work and we can't find help, and we try to maintain as well as we can, but
15
restaurants,
seconds.
well, with help, we need to work with that really, really hard. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Barry Johnson, you're next.
Thank you. Gonna have to speed through this one. 5 years from now, I'm kind of an infrastructure guy, so we have projects on Park Street, Campbell Road, Mason Street, storm sewer, water main, sanitary sewer, repaved Culver Street parking lot, Oval Beach concession building improvements, safe design for the Blue Star Trail, Wicks Park public restroom improvements, new restroom at Coughlin Park. We got to get a good experienced city manager on board. We got to work on the invasive species in the lake. The list goes on, but this is going to take a lot of hard work and a lot of experience. But I certainly want to finalize and improve the plans for the new band shell at Wicks Park that was conceived and funded through the generous gift by Dave Ballas and Jim Selman. And I want to continue the tradition of fair and open meetings, protect our constitutional guarantees of due process and the right for all citizens to be heard.
Todd.
Thank you, Barry. Scott Dean, you're up.
Thanks. In 2025, I want to see an even safer and more welcoming Saugatuck. More of a year-round community with more families. I mean, if there's one thing that's come out of this pandemic, it's been the amazing number of families that are moving here. There's a family that moved here from New York, put 7 kids into the Saugatuck public school system. Just met a family, brought 2 more kids from Chicago. They're living here full time now. So more families, more year-round business, which makes a more successful community. I want to see cooperation with Douglas and Fenville and the township to make this area a destination year-round. And it's not just within our borders. We need to collaborate more. So I really want to see us being a powerhouse. And when folks talk about brand, I see it a little bit differently. We're a community. We're not a brand.
15 seconds.
We're people. We're not products. The people and the spirit in this town is what makes Saugatuck great. And that's why I want to have a safe and welcoming community where everybody's safe and feels welcomed and appreciated.
Thank you. Time.
Thank you, Scott. All right, Todd Hoskins.
So I love thinking about 2025, and I'm just going to focus on Saugatuck being a year-round destination and place to live. Just that alone, Saugatuck 5.0 has put out there the goal of having 500 more families. They can't all fit in the city of Saugatuck. So we're going to have to cooperate with Douglas, with Fenville, with the township, with neighboring places in order to accommodate that number of people. So the collaboration is one. The second is economic development. And I posted 2 days ago on Facebook, Todd for Saugatuck, about what I believe is needed in terms of working with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. It's not incredibly detailed, but hopefully it will give you an idea. We've been running away from funds. We've neglected to do the work necessary to get extra money. And we're going to need to do that in order to get the 500 families.
Thank you. Time.
All right, thank you, Todd. And Lauren Stanton, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. I see in 2025, again, the development of the bike paths and sidewalks that are safer in our downtown area, also around our school, having more sidewalks leading to the school so it's safer for our kids that go there. I'd like to see more public-private partnerships. I think that's the way towards economic development, to see exciting things happen in the Saugatuck-Douglas area. I also see more collaboration when it comes to our harbor with the tri-community area. I think that's the way to go. We, Saugatuck-Douglas, we have to work together, and I'd love to see more efforts where we come together on all of these projects, whether it's the harbor, whether it's bike paths, our school district, and affordable housing.
All right, thank you, Lauren. And Mark Becken.
Hey, all right, thanks. 5 years from now, maybe I'll be retired. That's a goal. I think we stayed a course financially. We continue to manage our funds aggressively and conservatively. We follow plans we have in place, like budgets, capital improvement plans, folks. There are.
Oh, no.
We lost Mark.
Mark, unmute, please.
Pause the timer.
Mark.
There, I'm sorry. Going back, we have a total of $9 million of projects planned going forward, totaling 15 potential projects, roads, 14 potential projects on parks and recreation. So that effort will help spur growth, will help spur continued success as a tourist destination, and provide a infrastructure and a foundation for more families to come, including, there's even information here regarding work to do on the harbor. So that's it. I think we listen to new ideas and we continue working down the plans that we have put together going forward. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. I gave Mark an extra 15 seconds because of the inadvertent mute. That was my fault, actually. I was trying to mute somebody else and inadvertently muted Mark. So thank you all. Bob, next question.
All right. Now, as previously agreed, we flipped the order. And so, Mark, we're going to be coming back to you. But before we do that, let me state the question. So the second question is a three-part question. So I'll read the question and the three different parts and then recap it briefly. So the question is, on the record, please address 3 items in your answer related to the Blue Star Trail. Number 1, do you support the installation of the non-motorized trail across the bridge to the south, to the township north? And then, second part, regardless of your support, what specific actions would you recommend to address current and expected safety concerns in that area? And then, what would you consider to be a reasonable time frame to reach a formal agreement to build the trail? So, support or no, what specific recommendations, and then time frame. So we'll start, Mark, as I mentioned, with you.
How much time we have for this one?
1
You know,
minute.
I'm going to make a call here, Bob. May I suggest 90 seconds rather than a minute? I think we're good on time right now, and I will let you know at a minute when it's time to.
I'll try to be brief. All right.
Sounds
Start
good.
your clock, Jim. Okay. I cannot support the proposed project from Douglas Limits to Lake Street as currently proposed. I am not supportive of taking away any of the lanes of traffic that currently exist from Lake Street across the bridge to Main Street in Douglas for safety purposes. I am not against working on a trail. I am not against bike paths. I am very open to what happens from Lake Street heading to Maple Street along the city right away, even crossing Lake Street. I think some innovative new ideas can be done regarding that. So I guess that's kind of my mixed answer. We have not seen anything new in 2 years, and I'm sure some of that's COVID driven. So obviously be looking forward to looking at any revised plans that are presented to us. Time frame, I don't know. There's gaps in this path in the township from Maple to Elegant Street, and there's gaps headed south. It needs to be cooperative and collaborative, and that may take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. I don't know. Funding also plays a huge process in the decision. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Mark. Now, Lauren, over to you.
Thank you very much. I absolutely support the Blue Star Trail. I've been at many of the meetings where all of this has been discussed. I've seen the drawings. I went on the Friends of the Blue Star Trail's website to look at the drawings to say, why has this stalled? What's happening? So the latest drawings showed that they kept a middle lane for the fire department. So what needs to happen from here is the Tri-Community Committee needs to meet with the fire chief to figure out if that latest drawing is what would be safest for our community. I know a structure needs to be built so that the bikers and walkers are safe on the one side of the bridge. That needs to be decided. I think we can make a decision on this in 2 months' time if the Tri-Community Committee can make a decision with the fire chief and we come up with some compromise on both sides to figure out what would be best for our community. I think we can do it in 2 months, have a decision, and then the engineering firm decided what engineering firm takes us to the next step.
Thank you, Lauren. All right, Todd, your turn.
I'm going to answer all 3 parts, but I want to do what is the truth 4-way test first. We would have something done by now if we had a different council. And that's based upon the fact that we lost a $200,000 contribution because an agreement was not reached by last fall. And I would say this will get done with a new city council. How it gets done, everyone's right who's spoken so far. It's collaboration. The Tri-Community Committee is going to be the body of collaborating, but the fire chief is going to have a voice. I've met with the Friends of the Blue Star 3 times in the last year. I do not believe any of the incumbents running for re-election have met with the Friends of the Blue Star Committee outside of normal meetings. I understand their perspective. There's been flaws in their plans and how they've done this. They've done their best. We can work with them. We can come up with
30 seconds.
As for specific actions and recommendations, I would say voters vote for who is committed to getting this done and saying yes, and everyone's committed to safety. So any concerns about safety, let's assume we all care about our community. No one's going to do something that's unsafe. Safety will be first and foremost.
Thank you, Todd. Scott Dean, please.
The first thing I did when I announced my candidacy, on the first day, I met with the Friends of the Blue Star Trail. The second person I met with lives on Park Street and is concerned about his safety on Park Street. I'm a yes for the construction of that 0.4 of a mile. I also think a stoplight is required at that intersection. We are just waiting for an accident to happen and we need a stoplight there. The Friends of the Blue Star Trail have told me they need a decision and a commitment to work together again by April, or they're going to take their money elsewhere. I think it's easy. As Lauren has said, we just need the fire chief to meet with the Tri-Community group, and we need to hash this out. The 3-lane solution appears to be viable. So let's get everybody to the table and all find a solution. The fire chief is on record saying he supports finding ways to make this work. So that's not a barrier. That's a false choice saying that the fire department won't let us do it. They will. They're actually supportive of it. And for the city council, you want
30 seconds.
Stewardship. Financial stewardship is not letting $200,000 melt away.
Thank you, Scott. Barry Johnson.
Thank you. Blue Star Trail, I got files and files. I've been there since the beginning. And the problem is, looking at the most current plans, these do not meet the what the fire chief needs. Fire chief says fine. In the latest plan, and we're stuck with the 14-foot wide motorized trail because that's the magic number that they needed to get to $200,000. There just isn't enough space to do that. The fire chief needs 11 to 12 feet middle lane to get a 9.5-foot fire truck going 45 miles an hour across the bridge. And 10 foot don't cut it. And that's the latest one that they gave us. So that's a bunch of hoo-ha. We got to get, creative, and we are not going to get any money from the state if we don't put a 14-foot trail in. So that's off the table. We got to pay for it ourselves. And let's come up with a solution that gets that fire truck down the street.
You have 30 seconds.
And how we're going to pay for it. Then I'm in, because I've supported it all, but I have got all the plans, and 10 foot doesn't cut it for a middle lane.
Thank you, Barry. Jean Verplank, please.
Hi. Well, believe it or not, I'm in for a bike trail, but I think the bike trail should be a bike trail and not use the road. We need to make this safe. We need to build a bridge across the Kalamazoo River. That's the only way it's going to be safe. 5,000 to 7,000 cars a day drive down the Blue Star Highway in the summer. 5,000 to 7,000 cars. I was amazed. Yes, 5,000 to 7,000 cars use that road. We need to build a trail. We need to build a bridge across the river. We need to do this correctly, not try to jam something into an already overused bridge. There's just not enough room. And I'm the first person that talks about public safety. I've been involved with the fire department for 7 years.
You have 30 seconds.
We need to build the bridge if we're going to build a trail. We need 3 lanes. We need 3 lanes through Douglas. That's already an issue. There's just 2. There's no place to go if there's a fire truck behind you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. All right, Ken Trester.
I'm fully in favor of the bike trail, the Blue Star Trail, and I've said that from the very beginning. And I've spent many hours in meetings, both with Friends of the Blue Star Trail and other meetings, including a lot of council discussion, trying to find a way that we can satisfy all these concerns about safety and obtaining funding and so on. I believe we got closest to a solution early last year when we created at Saugatuck's instigation, the Tri-Community Group. We had one meeting in February where we looked at a proposal that actually was put on the table by somebody who was not a member of the group that looked very, very promising, and we were going to pursue that. Now, the problem was that due to COVID, that group slowed down and no meeting was called until I believe it was July 1st transpired, which was the termination date of the group's authorization.
30 seconds.
We went out of business. So here's what we got to do. Saugatuck has already started the process. We passed a resolution at the last meeting authorizing the Tri-Community Group to be reformed. We need to take that to Douglas and to Saugatuck Township and get that group formed once again, get the Blue Star Trail people engaged because they're part of that group, and move forward with looking at the proposal that was put on the table. I think that we can come to a conclusion
Time.
by June when that committee's timeline runs out. Excuse me for.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Angela, carry on, please.
Thank you. I fully support the bike trail. Lauren, Scott, and Todd's comments were right on the mark. We do need to get that community coalition together. We need to hammer out a compromise. And not only on this issue, but so many others, we need to get together. We need to hammer out a compromise and make this happen. The time frame, it needs to happen before next season. And if you elect a new city council, we will find a way to get this done. That's all I got.
Angela. All right, thank you very much. Now we go to the third question and a little bit different order of participants. We start with Ken, then Angela, Mark, Todd, Lauren, Jane, Scott, and then Barry. So the third question is this. Many of the questions we received deal with a general perception that the council is slow to act, bogged down in personality conflicts, or emphasizing process over results. Do you agree? And what are your ideas to accomplish more in the next 2 years if elected? And we start, Ken, with you.
Could you read the question again, please?
Yes. Many of the questions we received deal with a general perception that the council is slow to act, bogged down in personality conflicts, or emphasizing process over results. Do you agree? And what are your ideas to accomplish more in the next 2 years if elected? All right, so now, Ken, it's your turn.
Okay. I do not agree that in general, the council is bogged down, slow and driven by personality conflict and driven by process versus results. I do not agree. First of all, let me talk about process versus results. In many cases, the things we consider at council require following a process to get to a result. And that isn't our rule, it's a rule of order. It's the city charter that demands that we go through certain steps. And that's because we are an Open Meeting Act driven council. We have transparency. We want public input into the decisions that we make. So if we hold
15
over,
seconds.
if we hold over a decision to the next meeting, it's probably because we want to get more public input and we want to carefully follow process. I think that if we continue to do that, we'll continue to be productive.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ken. Angela?
Hi, yes, thank you. Well, the fact that many people have posed this question tells me that we definitely have a problem here. So I'm going to say I agree. And I agree because when I started listening to meetings, I was sort of flabbergasted by what wasn't getting done in times of crisis. And perception is reality. And if that's what people are seeing and that's what made your short list of questions, it's a problem that needs to be corrected by more transparency, a great city website where people can come in and get lots of information and constantly be updated. We need a city manager who's out and about and around town talking with
seconds.
Into more engagement. More engagement is the answer.
Thank you, Angela. And now Mark Becken. Mark.
Mark, you may be on mute.
I don't know how. Okay, thanks. I disagree. We have had some division in the last few years, or the last year specifically. We had new council people. Council people bring different ideas, different positions. It takes a while for the people to mesh, but it should not discourage debate collectively. During the last several years, the city council has accomplished pop-up patios, outdoor dining program, river flood mitigation plan, Coughlin Park Shoppers Dock, development of Jones Park, partner with the Allegheny County Sheriff for community policing service, maintain the city's strong position while lowering tax rate, kept the AAA bond rating, deregulation of the chain ferry to ensure its continued operation, implementation of citywide parks and roads capital improvement plan, fire dock redesigned and relocated. That doesn't sound like a council that doesn't get things done. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. Todd Hoskins.
So just some facts of how long things have been on the city council's agenda. 3.5 years for the Blue Star Trail, 3 years for Park Street, 2 seasons for Milfoil. And regarding the pop-up patios, they only happened once the businesses, 100 businesses in the region banded together, decided what they were going to do to make it safe for people to come here, and went to city council. And even then there was complaints it took too long. So I think that perception is true. What needs to change is decisiveness measured by inclusivity. I'm not getting elected to make choices. I'm getting elected, hopefully, to listen to people, to make choices, and then adapt choices when they need to be made.
Thank you, Todd. Lauren?
All right, can you hear me now?
Go ahead.
So I definitely agree city council has been slow to act. As a business owner in town who had years of flooding on the street in front of our business and having to handle it ourselves and knowing what the solution was with a pumping system, it took them until mid-June before we had a pump that the city approved. It took a long time and it was super frustrating for all of us in town that had to deal with that. I think we have to do a couple of things. I would love to see more surveys used in town so more people have a say on some of the decision making. It's a quick way to get a read on what people want in the city. I think committees should be formed and not have everything happen in workshops. Some committees that have some real timelines that say, hey, we have to get this done. So I think we need to put timelines on some of these projects that we have so we're not wasting people's time.
Thank you, Lauren. Jane Verplank, please.
Well, I take exception about the pop-up patios. I was involved with all those meetings with hundreds of business owners. I do own a business. I went out, I wrote the ordinances for the pop-up patios with Chris Peterson and with Cindy Osman, our zoning director. I met with the property owners on Culver Street to develop those pop-up patios, and they went really fast, and we worked really fast to put those in. So I don't know what you're talking about. We did do those things.
Thank you, Jane. Scott Dean, please.
So the question is the current council slow, conflict-riven, and inefficient? I would just ask the voters to watch the recordings of the recent Zoom meetings and decide for themselves. I would ask a business owner on Water Street whose business has been flooded, a resident of Park Street who's scared they might get hit by a car. I'd ask a restaurateur who has to get in fights with people about wearing masks. I would ask somebody, and I'm glad this didn't happen, this is hypothetical, but what if we had a resident that had a family member die of COVID-19 and suddenly realized they were going to get hit with a huge cemetery bill because the city let that contract lapse? So do I think it's slow, conflict-ridden, and inefficient? You bet I do.
Thank you, Scott. Barry Johnson, please.
Thank you. I take exception to that question as well. Process over results. There are no results without process. And you can only move so fast, like with the pop-up patios. We needed the state of Michigan to pass some legislation that allowed us to do it. Liquor license, the Michigan Liquor Control Commission. Transparency, you got to show up. None of the candidates showed up for meetings until just recently. So if they're not showing up, they're not part of the process.
All right, Barry, thank you. Now we'll go to the fourth question. And we have another order of candidate responses. We start with Barry, then Scott, Jane, Lauren, Todd, Mark, Angela, and Ken.
I mentioned that this will be our last question.
Yeah, we're getting short on time. So here's the question. Do you support changing the policy for the city manager and staff to require annual paid time off to be taken within each year on a use it or lose it basis, or leave it as is to be accrued over many years? Please explain your position. Barry?
I don't need a minute to tell you that. Yes, I support changing that, and the next contract with the city manager, you'll have to use it or lose it. That's all there is to it.
All right, thank you, Scott.
Yeah, absolutely. In my 20 plus years of corporate experience, I've never seen a situation like this arise where residents are now going to be paying an ex-employee $25,000 a year for 2+ years. It's unbelievable. It's been fixed, fortunately. I don't think it will happen again. But once again, it goes to experience. How did the council let this go on for 14 years? They claim they've got a lot of experience. Well, they don't have a lot of HR experience if they let this happen for 14 years. I've had a great opportunity to meet with the executive search firm, and I think that they've got a good path to get us a good city manager. I think they've already interviewed more than a dozen candidates, so I'm really looking forward to having that selection process. And I'd like it to be transparent. I'd like another Zoom meeting so the public can take the measure of some of these candidates for city manager. And no, they won't be able to leave with a $75,000 payday at the end of their term.
Thanks, Scott. Jane Verplank.
Well, It's true, it has been changed. It was changed with the adoption of the new employee manual that the city manager worked on for 2 years before it was actually put together. There's a lot of legal things in an employee manual. Peter is the only one that could possibly have accrued PTO. When we did this, we asked the city manager to please take time off and to bring that level down. We asked all the employees to do that. It was virtually impossible for the city manager to take time off. And when he said in a council meeting, I have enough work, I don't have any more time, I can't do anything else but the projects on my plate, a city council member said to him, surely you can multitask. So, you know,
15 seconds.
people put lots and lots of things on a city manager's plate.
All right, thank you, Jane. Lauren?
I believe we've established that the policy has been changed, so it will never happen again where we're stuck with a $75,000 bill because somebody was able to roll over their time for 14 years. One thing that I think we need to think about when we're trying to entice somebody to come here is sometimes you can donate some of your paid time off that you don't use. So people can use it if there's an emergency in someone's family, if somebody's family member is sick, you could donate that. So the whole city staff benefits if you don't use it. I think there's some, some out of the box ideas or from our experience in other areas, corporate America, where they do that. I also think the city manager shouldn't be so bogged down that they can't take time off. We need things like a grant writer that can handle some of those issues. I want to make that note one more time. We could hire a grant writer that could do a lot of the work that the city manager is bogged down with.
Thanks, Lauren. Todd?
So it's been decided that the limited PTO will carry over in the future. We won't make those mistakes again. I want to talk about working in a culture of no. Evidently, Kirk said no to taking time off. He said no to vacation. And as you've experienced in this session today, we have a council currently that says no a lot. And I'm all for saying no, but being more along the lines of saying yes to what matters to the community and taking care of people. I mean, I'm worried that 14 years without taking vacation, what that does to one's health. And I think the city hall culture with this manager hire is incredibly important. We need positive energy in there.
Thank you, Todd. Mark Becken, please.
Yes, this PTO schedule and how it gets paid off was changed with a comprehensive change to our and review of an update of our employee manuals. We follow, all manuals are actually following guidelines set by the MML. The old plan that Kirk was covered under, and Peter, our treasurer, still is outdated. It was outdated, and it was an oversight. I don't think it was a mistake. I think it was an oversight. It was on the job list for Kirk to complete. We probably didn't push it enough as a priority issue. Hey, that's on us. The man deserved it. He didn't do anything illegal. He worked hard. Yeah, it shouldn't happen in the future. I get it. That's it.
Thanks, Mark.
Ladies and gentlemen, there are remaining questions that Bob is looking at right now that would be fascinating to get to. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of the 90 minutes allocated for the meeting. I just want to thank Bob. Do you have something to add?
Well, we have two more respondents for this same question.
Oh, excuse me. I'm so sorry. Let's agree that we're going to go over time to accommodate their answers, and I apologize for that.
All right. Angela, go ahead.
Mute. Angela, you're muted.
He's unmuted.
Sorry. Why would it take 14 years? All this experience everybody's bragging about, but it took 14 years and Kirk quitting all of a sudden to figure out what was going on, that's a red flag. Sorry. I'm glad it's fixed. And also the new city manager coming in, I'm really looking forward to the opportunity, hopefully if I'm elected, to be able to be a part of that interview process, because that person needs to be a dynamic, exciting person who can manage a work-life balance, okay? And shame on the city council for not making Kirk take some time off, because he did work hard.
Thanks,
And
Angela.
how about an intern? How about an intern to help out? How about that?
Thanks, Angela. Ken Trester, you're the last person on this question.
Indeed. As Mark said, Kirk was a very industrious fellow. I mean, I can tell you, as working next to him as mayor for 4 years, 3 years, he was on the job night and day, and he worked hard and he loved to work hard. And yeah, maybe we should have said, hey, go take a vacation, but that really wasn't kind of topmost on our radar. On the second point, well, I agree that the policy's been changed. It ain't going to happen again. The second point, though, that I'd like to make is for those of you who are encouraging openness and transparency in the recruitment of the new city manager, I'll guarantee that I'll do the best I can as long as I'm in office to make sure that everyone who wants to be involved can be involved in interviewing, talking with, reviewing the credentials of our candidate. That's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Ken.
Thanks,
Okay, Jim,
Rotary.
back to you.
Thank you, everyone. It's a shame that we can't get to all the questions. We will do a postmortem follow-up. As everyone knows, the meeting has been recorded, so we will post this with a link on the Rotary website, and that'll be announced via social media and via email to all the registrants so that at least they know when it's up. Please pass it around to your friends if they're interested and couldn't make the meeting. And once again, my sincere thanks to each one of the candidates. This is the kind of openness and dialogue that I think will build a stronger city. And I just want to say I personally appreciate everyone's patience with me tackling something new that I probably didn't communicate as well as I should have. But I want to appreciate the candidates and thank everyone who participated today.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, residents of Saugatuck.
Yeah,
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, everybody. I see a lot of familiar faces there. Good to have you on board.
Everyone enjoy your weekend.
Everybody vote. It's very important.
Thank you all.
Thank you.